Life's greatest questions have always been, who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? You are about to see and hear one of the most significant messages given to us from God.
What's going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Back in your life, as Ariel Helwani would say. It's been a crazy week. It's been a quiet week, but it's definitely been an exciting week. I have a lot to talk about tonight. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. So unfortunately, Ted can't make it with us tonight, but that's alright. He's having a family vacation with his family, and I want him to enjoy himself. So we have a special guest planned for next week, who's actually a UFC fighter and a singer, believe it or not. But you guys are unfortunately stuck with my ugly mug for the rest of the night. But that's all right, because I have a lot of news to talk about, and I know you guys aren't here for me. You're here to talk some MMA. So I have the chat room open. If you guys have any questions, I'll be looking in there as well. UFC Salt Lake City. It was absolutely fun. If you guys haven't listened to the podcast yet, definitely check it out if I have any new listeners out there. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. This is Wednesday's edition of Evil and Intoxicated. We do this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Usually I'm joined by Ted, but like I said, he's not here with us tonight. We are 1 week away from UFC 202. We do have a bye week for the UFC this week, but that's all right. It's all right, guys. I'm going to get you through it, all right? Don't worry. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. It's the same tag, evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. And all right, guys, let's get into it. UFC Salt Lake City was absolutely crazy. I called it Spin City because I think more fighters threw 360 spin attacks than any other UFC event I think I've ever seen. And of course, we all wanted to see it really bad, but I think they were doing a little bit too much, but they did put on a great show. Very exciting fight. I'm very excited for Yair Rodriguez, his future, but the unpredictability was, we all foresaw it. We all, and I'm pretty sure last week, Ted even called it. He was like, all I can say about this is it's going to be a spin fest. And definitely a visually fun fight, but, both these fighters have great potential, and Bruce Leroy, he's like breaking onto a whole new level right now after he's changed his camp, he's got to work on that his countering. He had so many chances to counter, and he would have won at least another round if he threw a couple more counters in, I believe. But both fighters threw almost 600 significant strikes. I think that's absolutely crazy. 3 rounds I had for Rodriguez and 2 going for Bruce Leroy, and of course, it came down to that last round. So I'm going to give everybody a weekly wrap up of today when I'm finished with this, of course. And we got some birthdays this week, and I'm going to be getting into that as well. We're going to talk about Bisping, Hendo. There's a lot to talk about. And of course, guys, this week I had Jarina Barzon, who's going to be fighting for Lang Fights 31, coming September 2nd on Access TV, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm definitely excited about that. Check that interview out. It is on my YouTube, and since you're watching the YouTube right now, you can subscribe and you will actually be able to see it down below. So definitely check that out. Also, guys, the Bermudez fight, calling out Frankie Edgar. What do you guys think about that? I don't know what to think. I'd love to see that fight. I really would love to see that fight. However, I think Frankie needs to be really smart right now with his next decision of fighting. I was very upset that he lost against Jose Aldo, even though I was rooting for Jose Aldo. But, he landed numerous takedowns. It was a great fight for him against, what was his name? Honey Jason. And, Dennis is now on a 2-fight win streak. But Jason had some short-lived moments, and I mentioned this on the podcast. It's a hard fight for him. It was definitely a hard fight for him. It's Dennis Bermudez. I mean, come on. People didn't even think that Conor McGregor was going to be able to fight him or beat him. But let's get back into the main event. Bruce Leroy realized that he really needed to put in a little more work, and it was a visually fun fight, but he needed to go back to basics on that one, and that's exactly what he tried doing. But Yair Rodriguez, man, his cardio was on top. He just did not stop. He was just pouring it on, and it was a great matchup. I absolutely thought it was a great matchup for both fighters. And also, guys, this week, Nate Diaz and Conan was absolutely hilarious. Actually, it was last week, but Nate Diaz was on Conan O'Brien, and he was talking about his fight with Conor McGregor coming up, and of course, they could not get by that. There was no way that they were not going to have to talk about that at some point. So, of course, Nate talks about, and what's going on, Maria? Thanks for joining the live chat, and of course, I'm going to be going in and out of the live chat, so if you guys have any questions, just shoot. It'll definitely help me out with, the show, and I'm actually popping it out right now. That doesn't sound right. I'm popping it out right now. But thanks for joining our live stream. We do this every Wednesday night. And, of course, I'm usually with Ted Check, but he is not with me tonight. So, all right, guys. What do you guys think about Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz? We're going to get into that in a little bit. Thanks for joining the show. Let's get into this week's top news, though. After we talked about Salt Lake City, if you guys want to bring that back up, just ask any questions. We'll get right back into it. But let's get into the weekly news. Chael Sonnen appears to be close to possible comeback in the UFC, and I don't really know what to think about this. I don't know what weight class he's going to go with, but I think it's time for him to move on. Of course, he had that suspension. What do you guys think? If he did come back and you had to set up the fight, who would you have him fight? I don't know. I don't know who I would have him fight because I love his trash talk, but I think that I think there's just enough fighters in there that actually have a lot of talent. I'm not saying Chael's not talented. I'm saying he's just, he's played his part, and I think there's other things that he can be doing right now for the MMA world. Of course, he's commentator for World Series of Fighting. I thought that's a great piece for him and Ray Sefo. So what do you guys think about this? Chael Sonnen returning to the UFC. I really don't know what to say about that. Chris Weidman wants a New York City fight against Rockhold. And listen, if Hendo wins and sticks to his word about actually walking away, if he beats Bisping, and I don't know if he will, but if he does beat Bisping, that belt is going to be up for grabs. And I would love to see Chris Weidman versus Luke Rockhold right here in New York City for the belt. That would be awesome. And I think, I am a little biased because I'm so close, but I definitely want to see that fight, and I'm sure a lot of MMA fans, and I'm sure you guys definitely want to see that fight as well. So we all have to wait for the Bisping fight to go down first. And GSP, he is USADA testing pool now, which means that he is a part of the testing pool, meaning he can get tested at any second. I'm pretty sure he might have even put in a test sample yet already. If you guys know the answer to that, definitely let me know. And also, guys, Chris Cyborg, a video of her crying came out during her weight cut. And this is a huge reason why I think they should be doing another weight class for the female division. And I had Kate on this week, our newest member for ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Definitely check her articles out. She focuses on mostly the female fights for the UFC. She's a great girl. She was just on the podcast, Pure Evil MMA. You guys can find that right on iTunes. If that's not official enough, or if you don't have Apple iTunes, that's all right. You can find the show right on podbean.com. And once it's on iTunes, I'm pretty sure it goes to like every other, podcasting site for the most part. I know I just found out it was on Podomatic.com and Podfanatic.com and all these other lower sites, but it's on iTunes, so it's official, and Podbean.com. Just search Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com if that doesn't pop up, and check that out. But yeah, she came on to talk about the future of the female division and if they should be opening up a 145-pound division or an even lower division. And my take on it is, if you have Chris Cyborg and you have girls that actually, want to fight at 145, and there's a lot of them that do, we could even bring a bunch of them over from Invicta if they want. The talent is out there. There's a lot of female talent out there, and I can name names right now, Monica Franco. But honestly, why wouldn't you do that? That is now the next step. All the female fights that I've seen, except for, honestly, this last event, that female fight to open up the main card, wasn't too happy with it, but it was a great fight. Every fight's a great fight. But the girls put on such a great show. Why would you not open up the 145-pound division, especially now since you have Chris Cyborg waiting there on the sidelines? The talent pool is absolutely stacked. So there was a video that surfaced of Chris Cyborg crying during her weight cut. You guys can check that out also on YouTube. And, it's just crazy what these fighters have to go to make this weight. And Conor McGregor was talking about the same thing. The 145-pound, if he's going to be able to make that weight again. And of course, when he beat Jose Aldo, his coaches were all saying, I don't want Conor to make that weight again. 145 is a brutal weight cut. And we all saw what he looked like at 145 compared to what he looked at fighting Nate. He was weighed in at like 169, I'm pretty sure. And he looked absolutely amazing. And now that he's more comfortable at walking around at that weight, I'm interested to see his cardio now. And we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. So definitely check out that Chris Cyborg video. Let me know what you guys think about them opening up another weight division, another weight class for the females. I think that's definitely the next step. What's going on, Jody Crizol? Saw that video. Scary stuff. Women's bodies are so different. Weight cutting much harder. 202 would be exciting as hell. Like Conor, but Diaz looks like he's getting again this time. And of course, we got the Diaz-McGregor battle going on in the chat room right now, and I absolutely love that. And guys, we're going to get into that in a minute. I have so much to talk about with this because I'm also going both ways. I don't know. I'm a Conor fan. I'm a Diaz fan. Been watching Diaz since he surfaced on Ultimate Fighter, and of course, watching Nick's fights all those years. And every fight at the end, he's always giving a shout out to Nate, even before he was in the UFC. So always had my eye on him. This is an interesting fight. I think I've seen enough fights to actually analyze this a pretty good way. I was upset with Conor's performance in that last fight. There was a lot of things that he would usually do in his fights that make him elite, and he wasn't using that in the Diaz fight. And like a lot of people would say, use what got you to the dance, man. Use what got you to the dance. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So I'm happy to see that you guys are talking about that in the chat room. So definitely, we're going to talk about that. But yeah, Chris Cyborg and that weight cut. These people go through a lot. Fighters go through a lot. And I actually got to talk. I don't mean to go off subject, but I actually talked to who did I talk to? Oh God, I'm drawing an absolute blank right now. But he's actually a model as well. Why can't I think of his name? He's actually a model as well, and the way that he goes for his photo shoots, like he finds out he'll have a photo shoot, he'll actually do a weight cut for the photo shoot, which I think is pretty cool. Modeling, goes kind of hand in hand when it comes to weight loss and all that. So I'll think of his name. I'm absolutely ridiculous right now that I can't think of it. But yeah, those fighters, they got to go through a lot. So why wouldn't the UFC be opening up a new weight division for these girls? 145, I think they got to do it. What do you guys think? And also, guys, Cain Velasquez making his return. He just beat Travis Brown. That was an amazing fight. Coming in there throwing kicks. We did not think he was going to be throwing any kicks. Did not see that coming. And of course, after that fight, the UFC uploaded that special move to the new UFC game, that heel kick or whatever came through that night. But that was a great fight. I'm excited to see it. We got to wait for the Stipe fight over in the land against Overeem. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit as well. There's so much to talk about. That's why I love MMA. There's so much to talk about. And it's 2016. And you know what? We are watching those legendary fights. I said it on the podcast. But when I was growing up, Mickey Mantle, my grandfather would tell me the stories of these baseball legends. Well, right now, I think that Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Demetrius Johnson, Chris Cyborg, all these fighters are the Mickey Mantles, Roger Maris's, Babe Ruths of 2016 in MMA. I think it's the hottest sport out right now. The best live show I've ever been to was a fight. There's nothing like it. So, all right, Cain Velasquez, if he beats Stipe, and now he's the champ, that would be awesome. But I would love to see a Stipe versus Overeem fight first. Let's see how that plays out. I think Reem is going to win that, but Stipe's been on a tear lately. He's been on an absolute tear and looked like a monster. But do not forget, he was also knocked out by Stefan Struve. And a lot of people forgot about this. Stefan Struve's knockout to Bigfoot. And Bigfoot's going to be returning as well. He just had his fight announced against Roy Nelson. So that's going to be a great fight coming up as well. Let's get back into the weekly news, even though that was part of the weekly news. So UFC is fake and WWE fans rebel against Conor McGregor. And thank you, Max from Pro Wrestling Authority, for clarifying this. That picture that you guys see of that guy holding the UFC is fake, that's actually an older picture. And we've seen this. WWE fans have been saying this for a long time. And everyone's like, should somebody tell him that WWE is fake? And I just thought that was funny because Conor this week had an interview and he was kind of bad-mouthing the WWE. And the WWE actually reacted. Roman Reigns reacted to it, and then people started talking about that. Roman Reigns versus Conor McGregor. It's like, oh my God. These people will talk about anything nowadays. So Conor McGregor got into that, and everyone on Twitter started going nuts over it. And it's just an ongoing battle. And I think the way I can best describe it is, the fighters in the WWE, I shouldn't say fighters, but they are athletes. They do train, they do work out, they are fit, they are athletes, they do put on performance. It is a man drama. But, we have to thank portions of this. I mean, I got to thank the WWE because that's how I ultimately became a fan when I was a child growing up, was because of fighters like Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve. If it wasn't for Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys, I wouldn't be here. That was my first interview when I was 7 years old. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I was just obsessed. Great time in my life, and you know what? I got to thank them, and I think the UFC should thank them as well, because without them and people like Muhammad Ali to make those blueprints for the promotional aspect, to get people to want to tune in, to see a backstory, to see a story unravel, and then when those two meet in the ring, the cage door shuts, what now? And that's what gets us at the edge of our seats. And I think a lot of that we have to thank, portions of the WWE, because without that, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't, I really wouldn't. I was watching baseball, basketball growing up. You gotta thank them for that blueprint. And Conor, you gotta, man. But who knows? Everyone has mixed feelings about that. I don't know. That's just how I take it, guys. UFC is definitely not fake, and if it were to be fake, it has nothing to do with, the organization. It has to do with the fighters that are fighting. There have been crooked fighters in the past. I'm not going to name names, but there have been crooked fights in the past. You guys can just type that in on YouTube, and you guys can see what I'm talking about. And of course, a lot of people have called those fighters out. So, enough of this whole UFC is fake and the WWE talk. Let's get back into the real news. Eddie Alvarez makes it very clear that he wants the winner of this fight, UFC 202, Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz. And with that being said, I would want Nate to win the fight in accordance to that, just because there is a little history between the two. And, of course, UFC 180, I forgot what it was, 187, 188 maybe? Correct me, whatever one it is. But they had an altercation, and Nate was actually bad-mouthing Eddie and saying that Hector Lombard was the real champion that night or something like that. And saying, step up and fight a real fighter. And of course, it's classic Diaz talk. So what do you guys think? What would happen if Nate fought Eddie Alvarez? And of course, I don't know, he should be calling out a fight outside of his weight division, or if this is a title fight, I guess. But I really want to see Eddie Alvarez fight and defend his title. I think he's going to be one of these new dominant champions. And he has one hell of a story. We've all been watching Eddie Alvarez for years coming up. And he has one hell of a story. And I think he's going to be a dominant champion. So I absolutely cannot wait for that. Absolutely can't wait for that. So if Nate wins, of course, that would be a great fight. And Eddie Alvarez has been saying Conor McGregor would be easy to beat. He's been saying his interview on Ariel Helwani, he said that, I don't know why these guys just don't bring Conor to the ground. And of course, what happens 2 weeks after that interview? Conor finds himself on the ground. Eddie Alvarez. I think that would be a brutal fight. I think Eddie Alvarez would whip both of them. But then again, Conor's a great fighter, and if he does what he should be doing, then we will have a fighter on our hands. All right, guys, the new female bantamweight ranking, since we're talking about Chris Cyborg and everyone, and also since we're talking about females, Paige Van Zant versus Rowdy Beck Rawlings is coming up. So let's talk about that for a second. And I'm pulling back up the chat. What's going on, and welcome to the chat room. Pat, welcome back. Minion, what's going on, my man? Thanks for joining me tonight. Of course, guys, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Pure Evil MMA. Or actually, no, you're not listening to Pure Evil MMA. You're listening to Evil and Intoxicated every Wednesday night, Usually Ted is here to join me, Ted Check, the YouTube star, the Ted Check. But unfortunately, he's on vacation right now, guys, so I'm the Lone Ranger tonight. And Beck Rawlings and Paige Van Zant, that's what we're talking about tonight. How do you guys think this fight is going to play out? I do not think this is a great matchup for Paige. However, if she wins, it's going to be proving a lot, and especially to me. I was excited about that Rose Namajunas fight that she had, and of course, she got out of like 5 submission attempts, which were brutal. I don't know how she got out of those submission attempts, but she got out. But at the end of the day, she ended up losing. And now she's going to be fighting Beck Rawlings, who is a beast in her own right. And I think it's a tough matchup for her. You guys may not agree with me, but I think that's a tough matchup for Paige. I think that Beck is going to put the pressure on for sure. I think she's a bigger girl, and she's going to put the pressure on. She has, more of a veteran experience. Of course, Paige was going to be on that season of Ultimate Fighter, but she was too young at that time. She was only 19 years old, and of course, you got to be 21 to be in the Ultimate Fighter house. So going into this matchup, Beck is really confident coming into this. I'm excited about it. If Paige can beat her, God bless her. She's going to be proving a lot, and she's going to get right back in there. And I think she needs to fight Rose Namajunas first before they ever give her a title match again, because I do not think she's anywhere ready for Joanna. There's no way. And there's no way Rose is either. Everyone was talking about it. I think Rose is on another level right now, but I think we need to put her in a fight with another opponent. Of course, that fight with Tisha was impressive, but where we left off in that fight, going all 5 rounds, I did not think that she would be ready for Joanna if she just got by Tisha. And now, of course, she just fought again, and that fight didn't go her way either. So, that fight coming up. And now, if Paige beats Beck, what does that mean? Because, the UFC really is trying to make a huge star out of Paige Van Zant right now. And Dana will probably put her right up on top again if she does win this fight. And of course, she was just on Dancing with the Stars. She has a whole bunch of new followers behind her. So this is going to be an interesting fight. This is going to be Saturday, August 27th at UFC Vancouver. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm going to pull up the chat room to see what you guys are saying. Mike Hill, what's going on, my man? And thanks for joining the live stream. I do not know what to think about this fight, but let me know who you guys think is going to win. I do not think Paige is going to have that well of a chance. Like I said, if she wins, I will be impressed. So let's get into the new female weight division. I'm going to pull that up on my phone really quick. And let me show you guys what's going on in the chat room for you guys who are not watching this live right now. Here is my view of my computer, and here is the chat room. All right, my phone wants me to upgrade. Remind me later, phone. All right, the new weight division for the female. And let me know who you guys think should be fighting next in this division as well. Let's see what we got here. My Twitter blows up all day. All right, so Ronda Rousey moves up 1 place, putting her into 2nd now. So Amanda Nunes, of course, is the champion. Then we got Miesha Tate in 1st as the number 1 contender. And then we got Ronda Rousey. And then check this out. Shevchenko making her way up to 3rd right now in the UFC female bantamweight division, bringing Holly down 2 spots to 4th. And in 5th, looks like we got Juliana Pena. In 6th, Kat Zingano. So Juliana and Kat both go down 1. McMahon goes down 1. Rocky goes up 1, putting her in 8th. Who else do we got in here new? I think that's the updated female weight list. And of course, guys, Ronda Rousey apparently is going to be making her return very soon. Apparently this December. I do not know if she's going to be making UFC 205. I was hoping for it. I cannot wait to find out who's going to be on this UFC New York card. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And guys, Netflix, as we wrap up the weekly news, Netflix picks up Dana White looking for a fight. And if you guys haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend it because every episode is absolutely a blast. Matt Serra has never been better. And have you guys listened to his new podcast at all? I haven't listened to it, but it just broke 1 million downloads in its first week. I'm so jealous about that. And a cool video of Cowboy, and I know, Ann, you're going to love this. A video of our boy Cowboy came and surfaced on the internet of him and his dog riding on the surfboard. So I'll definitely be retweeting that and posting that to show you guys. And also, Shinzo Machida is going to be fighting at Bellator 160 for his debut. And also on Bellator 160, Baby Slice. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And also, guys, this week we have some amazing birthdays. Shayna Baszler turned 36 this week. CB Dalloway turning 33. Rhonda Marcos, 31. Joe Rogan turning 49 years old, believe it or not. And I'm so happy that he re-signed with the UFC now. And he's at least going to be with us for another year. I'm very happy about that. And I'm a huge fan of the Joe Rogan experience. I love the way that he breaks down the fights. His fight companions are always awesome. And Minion McGregor saying Rawlings isn't going to stop coming forward. Paige needs a solid game plan or it's going to be a rough night for her. And I got to agree, man. It's going to be a rough night for her. We know that she's a warrior. But like you said, Beck is going to pour on the pressure. And it's going to be a problem for her. And if she finds herself on the ground and pound, Paige might get knocked out. Her new fans might be in for a surprise. And it's going to be hard for them to watch. I'm a huge Paige fan. Don't get me wrong. I am a huge Paige fan. I just think this is a bad matchup for her. Jody, yes, the fight companions are great. I would love to start doing some fight companions as well. And of course, Steve Domenico was just talking to me about this. And Sean Godet from CombatSportsNation.com, who actually just talked to Baby Slay. So you guys should definitely check that out. And he actually just talked to Dana White as well. So check that out on CombatSportsNation.com. And get the full scoop. He talks to Baby Slice, gets a good 20-minute interview with him about what we can expect from him, what his aspirations are. And I'm excited to see him at Bellator 160. I don't think they should just throw him in there to the Lions. I think that they should build him up. They have something great there if they can build him up the right way with the right fights and, slowly just build him and rise him to make a star out of him. And Bellator 160, I'm pretty sure Benson's going to be fighting that night as well. And I'm so happy they didn't give Benson an immediate title shot again. Because I was there that night. I was there live watching him versus Korshkov, and it was not pretty. The whole tone of that stadium there that night was just silent after that first round. A tone was set once he got in there and just got rocked. He was throwing flying knees, and Benson was doing this weird thing on the ground like this. I did not... It was crazy. And after that fight, that was huge for Bellator to showcase their fighters. Like, we got some of the best in the world too that want to fight for us, that don't want to go over the UFC. And now with this whole Reebok thing or whatnot, some fighters might want to fight for Bellator, but there are things that Bellator does do that I don't agree with. Their promotion aspects, which I think could be a lot better. They have a great roster. Their roster's amazing. Their promotion, man, there's so many things I would love to do if I could work for Bellator and their promotion team, because they have a great roster, and it's a gold mine right now. And of course, Cyborg versus Michael Venom Page. That was a brutal fight, but MVP is perfect for Bellator. I think that his style fits that scene. He's building his way up, and he's one of the best out there right now. Sorry to get so sidetracked, but Joe Rogan turned 49 this week. Frankie Saenz turns 36. And DJ Mighty Mouse turning 30 this week. And that's a wrap for the birthdays this week. So let's get into Lion Fights 31. I just talked to Jarena Bars this week. She came on to Pure Evil MMA. You guys can check that interview down below. I got her take on UFC 202 as well, who she thinks, and if she's Team Connor or if she's Team Nate. So check that interview out. Subscribe below if it's your first time watching. Jarena Bars is going to be fighting Angela Whitley September 2nd. And of course, if you guys don't know who Jarena Bars is, I'm sorry, but you should definitely check out her videos. She's known for knocking out Chris Cyborg and winning a fight against her. It went to decision, but she definitely threw some knees in there and some big feet to the face and made a huge impact. And the MMA world was talking about it for a while. The Muay Thai world blew up, and she's going to be fighting September 2nd, and it's going to be on Access TV Friday, September 2nd. So tune in. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will be live right there in the corner. I'm going to be doing a fight update, keeping everyone up to date on social media. I'm going to do a fight wrap up like Ariel does at the end of the night. You know the way they at the end of the night, once the fights are finished, they wrap it all up with other MMA correspondents who probably will be Sean Gilday from Combat Sports Nation, who's going to be there. And we'll wrap the night up for you guys. I'm excited for it. There's going to be 4 title fights. I have another interview coming up with the Dream Killer. So definitely stay tuned for that. Zarina Bars was an absolutely amazing interview, and she's absolutely excited about this fight. She said she has a whole new game plan set up for this fight, and she is totally ready. She's only 27 years old. Young, as she would say. If you guys saw the interview, you'd get that little joke. But definitely check that out, September 2nd. I'm looking forward to it. And now, you know what? It's going to be one hell of a fight. I cannot wait. So, all right, guys. What do you think? Who should GSP fight? He's going to be coming back. He put his test into USADA. Should he be fighting Nate Diaz? Is that the fight that they are going to make? What are they going to do? I don't know. Let's check out what you guys think in the chat room. What's going on in there? If McGregor wins, who do you think his next opponent should be? All right, that's a great question. Thank you for this question, Mike. This is the problem. I do not like that Conor is fighting Nate again. And I know a lot of people are going to love it, but I really think that he owes it to Jose Aldo to go back in there. And this fight should have been against Jose. Or the winner of that fight. Of course, Jose won that fight against Frankie Edgar. But if it wasn't Frankie Edgar, it has to be Jose Aldo. And the reason being, Jose Aldo was the only featherweight champion the UFC had for 10 years. He did a lot for the UFC. I know I tuned in every time Jose Aldo fought. And a lot of people are huge, huge fans of Jose. He represents a country. Conor represents a country. But here's the thing. Here's why Dana probably didn't do that. 1, Jose Aldo got knocked out in 13 seconds. He needs time to recover. If he threw him in there against Conor again and he lost again, he was going to be even further away than within arm's reach. 2, I think Frankie Edgar fight was perfect for him to warm him back up, to get him remotivated to want that belt, to want to be champion again, to remind him of what a champion is and represents. And you know what? This makes his story 10 times better. And I know that they were talking about making a movie about his life. They haven't been talking about it much lately, but I'm sure it's going to resurface at some point because he has one hell of a story. And actually, 8 years ago today, I'm pretty sure, was it 8 years ago? 12 years ago today? I'll recheck it. But 8 or 12 years ago this week, I'm pretty sure it was today, Jose Aldo made his pro debut at 17 years old where he fought in Brazil and he won. And you know what? Jose Aldo went through hell growing up. He had to win just to eat at night. He had a lot hanging on him for those fights. And of course, he started in the gym just, sweeping up. And he was too poor. He was sweeping up and just trying to get by, winning fights for money to eat. And here you go. He has one hell of a story. But, another reason why Dana White and the UFC might have not set it up soon is also because of the promotion thing. Remember, they were supposed to originally fight at UFC 189. Jose Aldo got injured. They had Chad Mendes fight and stand in. And remember, right before that, Conor McGregor actually fought Dennis Seaver. And a lot of people were saying, why should Conor McGregor get the title shot so soon? I mean, he impressed me when he came into the UFC. He beat a lot of guys that really impressed me in a way that really impressed me. His style, his techniques, his movements, everything. The way he talked about him fighting, everything. It was amazing. But I didn't agree with an instant title shot. I thought Jose was going to whoop him at that point. But he was able to showcase his skills against Chad Mendes in that fight. That actually, UFC 189 was one of the highest selling pay-per-views of all time. So that was perfect. And then, of course, you go in there, knock him out in 13 seconds. Boom. That was huge. But like I was saying, they promoted that fight an awful lot between UFC 189 and UFC 194 where they fought. So that was another thing. A lot of people were tired of hearing Jose Conor. So they wanted to kind of switch it up, throw a couple more, couple things in there in between. And now, think about it, guys. After this, when this fight actually does happen, Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo 2 in the rematch, that's going to be huge. That's going to be absolutely huge. I cannot wait for that. But first, Conor has to get past Nate. And they're already talking about Conor versus Nate 3 already. So it's almost like Nate, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I know, I keep going in and out. I'm sorry, guys. It's because I don't have Ted here right now. And there's so much to talk about. Definitely keep me on track. But I'll stay on track. Conor has a lot to do here. He wasn't doing what I thought he should have done in his fight with Nate Diaz. And here's the problem. He was going in there, he promised everybody that he was going to win, in the second round by knockout. He was going to knock Nate out. He's going to go in there and get the win. But he went in there, he didn't throw that many kicks. He has an amazing kicking game. We all know that Nate is open to those kicks. He eats a lot of kicks. Conor has, amazing accuracy. And he was just going in there trying to knock Nate out. He had a great first round, but once that second round came in, that whole tone changed. Conor just gassed out. He didn't have it. And once Nate got that Stockton slap in, Conor just stumbled back. And where I was, the whole room went silent. The whole tone changed. It was out of control. And Nate got him up against the cage, and remember, he was just giving it his all, just pushing, and Conor just broke down. Then he was like, "Oh, you want to wrestle?" So here is my argument. Conor also took that fight on short notice, guys. He was originally supposed to fight RDA. RDA got injured, and Nate had to step in. So Nate stepped in, took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. Conor was not training with southpaws, and of course Conor's argument is, I'll fight anyone, anytime, it doesn't matter to me. And I think now he realizes that, weight does make a difference, and your opponent, that you train for does make a difference. So now he's walking around at 170. He's brought in some southpaws, some lanky southpaws, so he says, and he's got to have a new game plan here because he cannot just go in here just swinging wild. He can't do that here. Sorry that I've been going off topic, though, and going everywhere. Fuck Nate versus Conor 3. I got to agree because I think Nate and Conor after this, it's got to defend your belt. You got to defend your belt. How did you become champion and not defend your belt within 2 fights of you winning it? That's not right. And now you have this whole weight division on hold. That's just crazy to me. You can't be doing that. You can't put the weight division on hold. But you can't blame Conor McGregor because he's not the one setting these matches up, guys. He's not the one setting the matches up. The UFC that's setting these matches up. That's my argument there. It's going to happen somewhere down the road if Conor does win this fight. But if Nate does, oh man, I hate Nate and Conor. Pat, we know you hate Nate and Conor. That's funny stuff, man. But yeah, cannot believe that it is less than 2 weeks away now. And not only that, it's almost too good to be true. And I have my fingers crossed. I'm not trying to jinx us at all, guys. But it almost seems too good to be true. And I have my fingers crossed that no one gets hurt and nothing happens. Because that's what we usually see in cases like this. Unfortunately. So, of course, a lot of people are tired of all the Conor talk. And, he said it was going to be his year. Let's find out. If he does win this fight against Nate, then we have Nate versus, of course, we have Nate versus Eddie Alvarez. And we have Conor versus Jose Aldo, which is going to be one of the biggest fights of the year. It's going to be great. That's what I want. And then that's what I wanted, was Jose to come back. And I want Jose to whoop Conor. I'm a Conor fan, but I really want him to whoop Conor and get that belt back because Jose Aldo is the man. That's the best way I can put it. So Tony Ferguson is going to be fighting RDA coming up. He's going to be headlining Mexico City coming in November. So that's exciting coming up. Can't wait for that. Let me pull you guys back into the screen really quick. And World Series of Fighting is going to be hitting Madison Square Gardens on New Year's Eve. So I'm going to be trying to be headline cage side for that. Definitely excited, and I cannot wait for any MMA fight to come here to New York City. I will definitely make sure I get there. And of course, Madison Square Garden, always popping. They always put on a great show. Let's see what's going on in the chat room really quick. So yeah, guys, Ted Check is on vacation right now, and let's get a little personal. This week, my girlfriend brought home yet another pet rat, and here's the story behind that. I didn't know what to think. I honestly thought she came home with a box with holes poked in it. And I was like, did you really just bring home another pet? Is there really a cat in that box? She's like, nope, there's a rat. But hear me out first. They were going to kill it. They were going to feed it to a snake. I was like, oh my God. You got to be kidding me. So now we have 6 pet rats right now. And I cannot believe it. 6 rats. And we do not have a name for it. I'm not going to even ask you guys to name another rat because I don't even want to know what this new rat's name is. Pat is saying, I'm not even going to watch UFC 202. You were such a liar, Pat. You were definitely going to watch UFC 202. Anyone who complains about it is going to watch it. There's no doubt about it. That's funny. So if you guys have any questions, now is your time to ask. Who should be GSP's next opponent? That was one of the questions that I've been asking you guys all week. Who should GSP be fighting next? And of course, they're talking about Nick Diaz versus GSP. You guys really want to see that? GSP, of course, is coming back. He's not that old. And also, guys, I know I'm popping in and out, but BJ Penn, a lot of talk has dimmed down on BJ Penn. Do you think he's still going to be making his return? And if so, against who? Is he going to be against Nick Lentz? Because I know that there was some talk about that. I don't think he's going to be fighting at that weight, but BJ Penn saying he's going to be coming back. And originally, I thought this was a bad idea, but, and of course, he's back in Hawaii, but since he's training down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that's a great spot for him. If he is going to be making his return, that's a safe spot for him. And of course, they're going to be completely upfront, honest with him. They're not going to be like, let's get BJ Penn back in there because he is the prodigy and we want to see him fight. If they do not think it's a good idea for him to be fighting, they're going to tell him. And we didn't see them do that. So, who is he going to be coming to fight now? Of course, he got a little suspension, and I think he's not going to be able to return until November. I'm pretty sure. So, when he does make his return, I'm going to be excited about it. Of course, the Dennis Seaver fight was perfect though, for his return, and that fight fell through. And Dennis Seaver, if he's smart, he's going to beg for this fight and make that fight happen because he does have a chance of beating BJ Penn. That was a perfect fight. And as soon as that was announced, I went nuts because if BJ does make his return, I was skeptical of who he was going to be fighting. Because if he does make his return and lose, since he hasn't won in 5 years, it was just going to be a train wreck. He's already in the MMA Hall of Fame. Why are you going to risk it? And a lot of people say that for GSP. Why are you going to come back? You've already accomplished everything you've wanted to accomplish. You got to go out as a champion with the belt. I mean, come on. But of course, that fight was ridiculous. And if GSP comes back, I'd like to see him fight Johnny Hendricks. And Johnny Hendricks has been having such a hard time lately. And Jody saying, yes, that was a good range fight for Penn. I think I got to agree. I was excited about that. Him coming back, and it was perfect for Dennis as well. I think Dennis's last fight against Conor McGregor was brutal. And a lot of people said, oh, that was an easy fight for Conor. What? If Conor got kicked with one of those leg kicks, that was gonna hurt him a lot. That was gonna be devastating. If you get the wind knocked out of you by one of Dennis Seaver's kicks, and of course he's a little dude and really lanky, and he's really stiff, and Conor took complete advantage of it. And that's part of Conor's style too. That's one thing we didn't see in that Nate fight was that lull, how he lulls you asleep, breaks you down, surprises you. But yeah, that was a perfect fight for BJ to come back into, and I really hope they stick to that. Minion, thanks for popping in, man. I know it won't sell pay-per-views, and GSP won't but I'd love to see him return to fight Hendricks too. Maybe that would relight the fire in Big Rig's belly and motivate him back to his old self. Dude, I gotta agree. And no one's been saying that either. I think I am the only one saying that. So I'm so happy you said that. That will definitely relight the fire under Johnny Hendricks to get him back in there. Train smart, eat smart especially, and relight that fire because he won that fight. I'm sorry, but he beat the rig out of GSP that night. I do not know how GSP won that. I don't know what you guys personally think, but if you even look at replay the fights or just look at a quick snapshot, Johnny Hendricks isn't touched. He is unblemished. And if you look at GSP, he had one hell of a night, and of course he popped the big one on us that night that no one saw coming. So I gotta agree, man. Johnny Hendricks is having such a hard time right now. He just lost to Kelvin Gastelum, who was also in a tough spot himself. Both those fighters had their backs against the wall, and now Johnny is not looking good. But at one time, not too long ago, he was championship material. We all know it. And you know what? Wonder Boy really put on a show against him. And that just shows that Wonder Boy is ready for this upcoming fight against Woodley. There's no other fight. But somebody did bring this up. And I don't mean to jump ship on the BJ Penn and everything we're talking about, but somebody brought this up, and I think it was beautiful. What was I just talking about? Now my mind just went blank. Oh my God. Jesus, what were we just talking about? Somebody remind me in the chat room really quick. Oh yeah. If Tyron Woodley were to fight Wonder Boy. So, of course, Woodley is calling out Nick Diaz. If they did set that fight up and Woodley did win that would set Woodley's name up even bigger. And then you have Wonder Boy in there. But do you do it the opposite way? Do you do Wonder Boy versus Woodley and then do a super fight against, whoever they want, GSP or Diaz? What do you guys think about that? I know a lot of people have different ideas on this. I am totally open to everyone's opinions. I'm not saying that is my actual, what I definitely want to happen, but I'm definitely open to any matchmaking. Woodley needs to fight Wonder Boy. End of it. Agreed. Minion, let me show the world that you're saying this. Let me bring everyone into the computer really quick. And I got to agree, guys. Woodley needs to fight Wonder Boy. There's no other question about it. And Wonder Boy has earned it. You cannot say Wonder Boy has not earned this fight. There's no way. He's done everything he's needed to do. He took out the guy who beat the living piss out of GSP. Maybe not the living piss, but you know what I'm saying here. New champions don't get to choose their first defense. Exactly, Minion. And a lot of people will say that. Of course, Steve and I were talking about this on Cage-Side Submissions. You guys should definitely check that podcast out. It's on iTunes. Just search Cage-Side Submissions. I just got to talk to Ultimate Fighter Season 19, Chuck Gordon, Daniel Spawn as well. So check that out, Pure Evil MMA. And guys, also, I got the t-shirts for sale. I got pictures of Angie Jabs as well in a couple of them. I said I would get those pictures out for you guys, so I definitely got it. So Wonder Boy has earned it, without a doubt. Without a doubt, Wonder Boy has earned it. He went in there, destroyed Johnny Hendricks. He went in there, put a beating on Rory McDonald, in his hometown, in Canada. And he's a true champion. He does nothing bad to say about anyone. But you know what? You can't blame Fox for setting that up the way they did. When Woodley won the belt, they go to Fox Studios, and there you go. Wonder Boy asking Woodley, what are the chances, me and you? Like, perfect. Of course. Fox had to set that up. You guys are crazy. They had to set that up. And of course, if Woodley's asked, he's going to answer. I have to agree, though. Woodley has to fight Wonder Boy, and then we'll talk about after that. Which makes the question of what happens to Lawler now. Is this the end of Lawler? What now? What does Lawler do? You have the Lawler-Diaz rematch? I like that, just because That was Lawler's last knockout. Lawler got knocked out by Diaz. It was a while ago, but that is the fight that I want to see the rematch of. I think that's what Lawler should set out to do. Open up and speak his voice. I know he's coming off a loss, but he is a champ. He did reign as champion. I look at his freaking picture every day. He's the champ. He's a dominant champ. Like you said, Woodley scored with that T Wood bomb, and brought home the belt. So Wonder Boy versus GSP. After that, I would like to see GSP versus Wonder Boy after the Woodley fight. There's so many good matchups to make right now. I'm loving MMA in 2016. I can't ask for anything better. I really can't. So, do you guys have any more questions for me? We talked about Paige versus Beck. That's going to be coming up. We talked about Conor versus Nate and what Conor needs to do differently now. We talked about the weekly news. Chael Sonnen. Should Chael Sonnen be coming back, guys? Weidman wants to fight in New York City against Rockhold. Like I said, if Hendo wins and actually does walk away with the belt will be up for grabs. Cain Velasquez to return to fight. Who's he going to fight? Of course, we got to wait for Stipe versus Overeem. And you know what? Overeem is looking like a beast, looking like he should be the champion right now. And Stipe, man, poor Verdum that night. Winning, I don't even think he cared that he was in Brazil. Stipe bringing it back to the land. Lawler fights Maia, Condit winner, in the title eliminator. I like that. And Damian Maia, another person that deserves a title shot as well. Guys, I brought this up last week, I'm pretty sure. Nick Diaz versus Matt Brown. What do you guys think about that? And of course, Matt Brown having, one of the worst years of his life right now. Crazy, man. I think that would be a perfect fight. Cain versus JDS again. Pat calling JDS versus Cain. JDS was never the same after that Cain fight. And that was one of the best fights I've ever seen on TV. Of course, one of the most epic rematches as well. I'd like to see the Cain versus Verdum match. I think Cain can get that belt back. We saw him go ham on Travis Brown and put on one hell of a show. And Travis Brown, man, I got to give him props as well. He's a beast himself, taking out Mitch Rheon like that. And oh my God, guys, the new rules. And I know that we discussed this last week with Ted Check. And I just wanted to make it official. What he was talking about in the new rules. So there's new judging. Striking and grappling take priority for judging rounds. That is one of the new rules. Scoring 10-8 rounds based on dominance, duration, and damage. Grounded fighter. Any part of the body other than single hand or foot touching the floor. So that will be a grounded fighter. Extended fingers. Extended fingers must make fist or point fingers up when reaching opponent. You see a lot of fighters, reach their fist out. You see a lot of this with, taller fighters, bigger fighters, to find their range with their hands out because it's, it almost slows you down like that. Like this, it's more natural. You could break a finger like that too. And that's what we saw in that Travis Brown versus Matt Mitrione fight. And here's a big topic that I wanted to talk about, guys. Female clothing. No loose fitting tops allowed. And we saw this in, I think it was Valerie Letourneau's fight, or was it Kat Zingano's fight? I forgot. But, they have the U-necks that go down really low. And in her fight, we've seen this a couple times in a Paige Van Zandt fight, a couple nip slips. It comes down a little bit too far. That's why they give them the option of like the soccer or the snow pants that have like the tear in the side. But you know what? I think the girls should get to choose what they feel comfortable in fighting, because if, they feel exposed at some point in the fight, or, a breast exposed, their head can go off. They can get extremely sidetracked. Of course, you're on TV. The world just saw you exposed, you naked, and that could be, that could throw your whole game off. Everything that you've worked so hard for, gone just because someone pulls your shirt down and your nipple is exposed. That's embarrassing. And I'm so happy that they're getting rid of these U-necks and making something different. And of course, I'm pretty sure it was Valerie Eterno who brought this up, but very happy that they're making that a new rule. We did not mention that last week, so I just wanted to make sure we touched up on that. So, yep, the judging, striking, and grappling take priority for judging rounds. Scoring 10-8 rounds, like I said, it's going to be based on dominance, duration, and damage. So, if we look back at last week's fight with, Yair Rodriguez versus Bruce Leroy, I think it's a perfect example of just showing dominance through the whole fight of, his cardio was definitely on point. Both fighters, they went deep. Yair Rodriguez was pouring everything that he had out. So I'd love to see it, but don't think Matt Brown's stock is high enough for Nick Diaz to take it. And you know what? You're not the first person that has said this. A lot of people have been saying this, Minion. A lot of people have been saying this. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap up the show. It has now been an hour, so it's time for me to wrap everything up. If you guys have any more questions in the live chat, definitely ask. It was a rough week without Ted Check, but do not worry because we will be back live next week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I have a new show set up for Friday, guys, for Pure Evil MMA. That's why there was a lot of topics I didn't really want to touch tonight because I didn't want to repeat myself. And, of course, I don't have Ted here to discuss it with. And Friday, I will be also talking with myself. So I didn't want to touch on too many subjects that I'm going to be talking on. So I've saved the good stuff for Friday. So make sure you guys tune in Friday. Maybe I'll do it live. I will be letting you guys know tomorrow if I will be doing it live, but it will definitely be up on Friday. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the live chat. Thank you so much, Minion, for coming in, and everyone for coming in tonight. Let's run down the chat room really quick of everyone who joined us. Jody, Maria, thank you for joining us. Pat, thanks for joining us. Minion, Ann, Mike, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I will be back tomorrow. I'll actually be back tonight on social media. If you guys want to follow me at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. I had a great night, guys, but I have so much more to talk about come Friday night. So make sure you check it out. Subscribe down below. And anything that you guys want to talk about, I usually talk about on Twitter. So definitely follow me. Also like me on Facebook. If you don't like me, then we can't be friends, obviously. So definitely check me out on Facebook. There's a lot of people on there that talk a lot of fighting, and there's so much going on in the Twitter world. If you do not have Twitter, I highly recommend you getting it, because if you're an MMA fan, that's where it's really at. And of course, shout out to Yusuf, shout out to Pat and Steve, Riz, Peter, Steve, Rachel, Miss Blaze, Sean, Shane, Jackson, Gary, Nick, Lady Jade, Mike, Christian, Monica, everyone. Did I get it? That was almost like a rap of a jumble. Also, Said Show. Check him out as well. I'm out, guys. Check out the Jorina Bars interview down below. I had a great night with everybody. Definitely tune in next time. I'm out.